They're in the gate. And they're off. Gioro is out quickly, so is Danzig till Dawn, who broke a bit inward. Copperhead Fever is up close in the early stages. Benster is in fourth. Lead away down at the rail is the gray in fifth. Two clear of Cheering for Layla. The other gray, Winter Snow, is the early trailer. Into the first turn, the pace lively, and the leader Copperhead Fever outside Gioro. Those two sprint two clear of Danzig till Dawn in third. It's another couple of lengths. Back to Benster and Lead Away, who are right together. Two clear of Cheering for Layla. Winter Snow has six to make up onto the back stretch, where it's Gioro in front, tugging hard, and opens up a length and a half on Copperhead Fever second. Two more, Danzig till Dawn settled in third. Now Benster is moving up between rivals, coming through along the inside, in fact, to be a joint second. Lead Away is by herself, fifth at the half-mile pole, 4 lengths off the lead, two clear of Winter Snow, and Cheering for Layla into the far turn. It's Gioro prominent throughout, tested once again by Copperhead Fever. Danzig till Dawn is 3 deep in third. Benster fourth. Lead Away inching closer fifth, just 3 lengths off the lead. Couple more to Cheering for Layla. Winter Snow trails. A quarter of a mile to go. At the rail, Gioro is under serious pressure. Danzig till Dawn's had a good trip. Sweeps up on the outside to be on even terms. And Lead Away gets a clear shot in the center of the course. Benster, Copperhead Fever coming to the 16th pole. And it's Danzig till Dawn. Benster coming through on the inside and Lead Away. Benster, Lead Away. These two go on. Lead Away with big strides late, and Lead Away gets up to beat Benster. Third went to Danzig till Dawn, then Gioro. They're in the gate. And they're off. Gracie's Big Day is going out for the early lead. Now the favorite, Ovita's Hobby, who wasn't quick out of there, is suddenly in front, putting her head just in front of Iconic Memory, who tries to go with her in second. Gracie's Big Day is down at the rail. My Catherine Rose is on the far outside. In that mix is Nala, and Nostravirus just 3 off the lead. The distant trailer is Princess Daddy. Ovita's Hobby goes past the half-mile pole, leading narrowly from Gracie's Big Day, who moves to engage. These two have sprinted 3 lengths clear around the far turn. Then it's My Catherine Rose, currently racing in third. Iconic Memory, hard-ridden, racing on the inside of Nala. Nostravirus has dropped out of it, and then Princess Daddy. Ovita's Hobby, quarter of a mile to go. Sails clear to lead it by 3. Gracie's Big Day is second by many. Then it's My Catherine Rose in third, followed by Iconic Memory. Then comes Princess Daddy rallying belatedly between horses, coming to the 16th pole, and Ovita's Hobby is simply too strong. Ovita's Hobby, cruising home under Juan Hernandez, wins it by about 4 lengths. Gracie's Big Day, clearly second best. Photo for third, ends up going to My Catherine Rose, narrowly over Princess Daddy. The outside. We're in the gate. And they're off. Quick start for She's Splendid. Here's Step It Out and Bottle Rocket along with Nancy Griffith. Miss Brightside, a very slight bobble out of the gate, settles 6 lengths off the lead. 3 more to Blue Oasis and Girl Can't Help It at the back. The pace is fast. Step It Out opens up into the first turn. Has it by 2 lengths now. Nancy Griffith in second, followed by She's Splendid at the rail. A joint third, Bottle Rocket outside of her. Another 2 back to Miss Brightside, who's in fifth. 7 or 8 lengths off the lead. 4 clear of Blue Oasis. And Girl Can't Help It at the back of a strung-out group. Step It Out, the long shot leader. Heads toward the half-mile pole, 3 lengths in front. Nancy Griffith by herself in second. Then She's Splendid. Bottle Rocket on the outside, 4 lengths off the lead in fourth. Miss Brightside is next, racing 2 in front of Blue Oasis. And Girl Can't Help It has trailed throughout. Around the turn, Step It Out by 2. Nancy Griffith set down in second. Bottle Rocket inching up on the outside to take third. She's Splendid fourth. Miss Brightside is next. Blue Oasis starting to pick it up a bit, has 6 to make up. Swinging to the far outside at the top of the stretch. Also rallying Miss Brightside, whether they're in the final furlong. Step it out. Nancy Griffith. Nancy Griffith takes the lead, and now Miss Brightside has kicked into high gear. And Miss Brightside coming after Nancy Griffith. She has her close to home. Miss Brightside and Reese Bully win it by almost 2. Photo for second close. Bottle Rocket and Nancy Griffith. Step it out was fourth. Coming up, we're going to show you a drone shot. A smile, baby, smile. They're in the gate, and they're off. Run for My Honey is quick. So is Gila, who's up to take the lead. Love Our Family now moves up to take second. Those two speed clear. Ready to Gig third. Run for My Honey is now in fourth. Smile, Baby, Smile moves up on the outside, followed by Super Ellie and Doreen's Wildcat. 8 lengths front to back, coming to the 6 furlong pole with Gila to catch. 3/4 of a length to Love Our Family in second. Ready to Gig at the rail under a tight hold in third, and followed by Smile, Baby, Smile. Orange Silk 3 wide, just 2 off the lead. Run for My Honey is next. 4 lengths clear of Super Ellie and Doreen's Wildcat. They run toward the half-mile pole with Gila the leader. Still has it by just under a length. Love Our Family, followed by Smile, Baby, Smile in third, and Ready to Gig at the rail. Run for My Honey, 4 off the leaders. It's another 3 back to Doreen's Wildcat. As the field moves into the far turn, Super Ellie is just outside of her. 3/8 to run. Gila, Love Our Family. Gila ahead. Love Our Family applying serious pressure. 4 lengths back. Smile, Baby, Smile in third. Super Ellie is trying to pick up some pieces on the outside. Run for My Honey in front of that pair. Down at the rail, Doreen's Wildcat. Top of the stretch, Gila and Love Our Family. Nothing in it. Gila on the inside. A half length. Now it's a full length on Love Our Family. Second, a long way to Doreen's Wildcat in third. There's a 16th of a mile to go, and Gila opens up now. And it's Gila, another for Umberto Rispoli. Gila, in front-running fashion, wins by 3. Love Our Family was second, Doreen's Wildcat, and Run for My Honey. Neon Lights, the last one. Going in. And they're off. Quick start for Jeweled Shalala, who's going out for the early lead, but now Neon Lights is even quicker, and Neon Lights, intent on getting to the front, opens up 3, in fact, as they move into the first turn. Then comes Polyak, who's down on the inside in third, followed by Promisio, who moves up a bit wide, fourth, but 4 lengths off the leader. Down at the rail comes Kid Azteca in the 5th spot, joined by For a Laugh, who's a length and a half in front of a hard-to-handle Rastaman Vibe. Racing on the outside of Zalamo, and Fireman Dan, not the best of beginnings, is the trailer. They swing on to the backstretch, and it is Neon Light showing the way. Leads it by 2 over Jeweled Shalala in second. That pair followed by Polyak and Promisio side by side. Kid Azteca mid-pack 5th with a half mile to travel. Has 4.5 or so to make up. At the rails, Zalamo. For a Laugh outside of them, Rastaman Vibe and Fireman Dan. Into the far turn, Neon Light still there. A length and a half to the good of Jeweled Shalala, who's been tracking nicely the whole way. Then comes Promisio, Polyak, Kid Azteca, 5 off the leader. Down at the rails, Zalamo in the turquoise colors has 6 lengths to make up. Rastaman Vibe is next. Outside of that pair, For a Laugh. They're a furlong from the finish. Jeweled Shalala pounces, opens up. Zalamo looking for room, finding it, 1 from the rail. Rastaman Vibe closing stoutly with Kid Azteca. Jeweled Shalala, 3-length lead close to home. And Jeweled Shalala, a triple for Rispoli. Zalamo finished full of energy second. Then Rastaman Vibe and Neon Lights finished fourth. In the gate. And they're off. Even start, Respect the Crown. Jubilant Joni comes through in second, and Solid Tune has some pace in third. Then Morning Addiction, 2 off the pace in fourth, followed by Chalima outside Roman Empress, and Discrepancy with no early speed, already 10 lengths off the heavy favorite, Jubilant Joni, who takes him to the half-mile pole in front, bottle length. Morning Addiction and Respect the Crown are second and third, and Solid Tune at the rail in fourth. A gap of 4 back to Chalima, who races in front of Roman Empress, and Discrepancy picking it up a bit from behind. Less than 3/8 to go, and Jubilant Joni cruises out to a 3-length lead. Solid Tune and Morning Addiction are side by side. Respect the Crown outside of them. Another 2 back to Discrepancy, who's trying to get a piece of it as they reach the top of the stretch, and Jubilant Joni has opened up 7-8 lengths now with a furlong left to go. Solid Tune in second, followed by Discrepancy, who's trying to get into that second spot late, but it's a runaway for Jubilant Joni. Jubilant Joni wins by 9 lengths. Solid Tune was second, Discrepancy third, then Morning Addiction. We're in the gate, and they're off. Very fast start for Mirinda, who sprints through on the inside to take over at once. Lady Gregory comes away a joint second, and here's Bessie Coleman moving up, taking that second spot. Proof She Zips is already 8 lengths off this speedy front runner. Then it's Lamborghini. Quick Kate is next, racing 2 clear of Someone Like You, Quick Omen, and Jersey Sunset is at the back. It's Mirinda and Edwin Maldonado, 6 in front into the far turn, with Bessie Coleman in second. Lady Gregory nicely settled in third, asked to get after the leader now. They're followed by Lamborghini and Proof She Zips, 2 in front of Quick Kate. Then Someone Like You, Quick Omen, and Jersey Sunset. They passed the quarter pole. It's been all Mirinda so far. 5-length lead at the top of the lane. Lady Gregory takes up the chase outside Bessie Coleman, who's still in second. Proof She Zips angles out, as does Quick Kate. Mirinda's lead diminishing. Here's Lady Gregory eating up the ground, and Quick Kate is coming fast on the outside. Lady Gregory, Quick Kate, Lady Gregory or Quick Kate, Quick Kate. Perfectly timed by Juan Hernandez to nail Lady Gregory. Behind them, between Lamborghini and Proof She Zips. For customer while supplies last. We're in the gate. And they're off. Mr. Machu Picchu quick. So is Gray Area on the outside. And in between them, Let Me In is a little quicker. So Let Me In and Gray Area now head and head. Mr. Machu Picchu keeps pace along the inside, speeds up now, and he is in front. Chasing Rider is very eager along the inside. He has to calm down at this stage. Only 2 lengths off the lead, with He's a Gangster right next to him. Another couple back to Hornsby. Berlin Wall, 6 off them, and another 2 to Smooth Whiskey going down. Mr. Machu Picchu, midway on the far turn, puts almost a length on Let Me In second. Then comes Gray Area third. Chasing Rider along the inside, gets some breathing room. Berlin Wall is trying to rally inside. He's a Gangster. Many chances at the top of the stretch. Mr. Machu Picchu clinging to the lead. Let Me In trying to go by at the furlong pole. Mr. Machu Picchu, a length and a half. Let Me In trying his best, followed by Berlin Wall coming down the center of the racetrack, past the 16th pole. Mr. Machu Picchu, Mr. Machu Picchu, all the way for Bondi and Orantes. Second to Let Me In. Berlin Wall was third, then Chasing Rider. For the New Year's Day finale. All in. And they're off. Very tardy beginning for my summer dream. Player B is out quickly, so I'm told. What makes Sammy run broke well, but is now taken back as Dedois goes after player B. Coulthard moves through on the inside to take third. Hacking it up is next. Cane Creek Road is 7 lengths off the pace. 3 more to What Makes Sammy Run, followed by Inch outside Evening Sun. And after that tardy beginning, my summer dream with a lot of ground to make up. Into the far turn. Player B, Dedois, head and head for the lead. Coulthard a length and a half back third. Then hacking it up, so I'm told. 6 off the lead as player B is trying to scamper away. Cane Creek Road, What Makes Sammy Run, moving up on the outside in the blue. He'll be caught wide, but What Makes Sammy Run is picking it up. Gap of 4 to Inch, and then my summer dream. Player B turns for home, has a 3-length lead. Hacking it up is chasing, just trying to angle out now and finding his best ride. And What Makes Sammy Run moves right into third. Player B all out, hacking it up 3/4 back, and What Makes Sammy Run flying home to get the money. Player B was second. Third went to Hacking It Up in front of Cane Creek Road, and So I'm Told.
If you've been handicapping Southern California races for at least the last 2 or 3 decades, you might recognize names like Bob Selvin and Lee Russo and Roger Stein. Well, believe it or not, our seminar guest today, he doesn't look this old, but believe it or not, way back then, he was part of that crew. He would give out handicapping advice almost on a weekly basis, whether it was on a radio show or a nearby handicapping seminar close to the racetrack that was running. He's been my friend as well for those last 2 or 3 decades. His name, Frank Tate. Frankie, happy Friday. Welcome to the seminar.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Where did time go? How is that possible that 20, 30 years ago, you and I met, and it seems like it was yesterday?
You're dating me, Tom. I don't believe any of that.
Well, let's talk about like what type of handicapper you are, Frank, because that's what I wanted to have you on the show for. You've kind of been in mothballs for the last decade or so. No one's really heard from you, but I know you're very active handicapping, and I kind of call you a data-driven handicapper because what you like to do is find data that's not in the daily racing form, and specifically, let's touch base on a couple of those topics. The first one would be the rail position on the main track and on the turf. It's called the run-up. Talk to us first about what run-up means and why it's so important to you from a handicapping standpoint.
So unlike when you're having a foot race in the Olympics, the timer doesn't start when the gates open, and it's a certain amount of distance, and that distance varies on a number of factors, where the rails are set out of the turf, and even at that, there's all sorts of different distances. For example, today the rails are at 30, Tom, and when Santa Anita runs rails at 30 and 6 furlong races, the distance can, the run-up distance can vary by, it's like 60 feet, as short as 95 feet and as much as 150.
And to be clear, that's when the timer actually starts timing the race, once they hit that run-up position.
Exactly, and so 65 extra feet, horse have a lot of chance to be, closer to top speed. And what that can do is that can make the difference between the quarter and the half-mile time as much as 1 second on average between those two. So you can be looking at the race and go, wow, they went 22-1, that's fast, or they went 22-3, that's slow. But it really depends on what the run-up was set at that particular day, because it may not be what you think it is.
And you talk about 1 second being the difference. That's basically 5 lengths. That's a huge margin in horse racing. It's important that handicappers kind of know that that's how the races are timed. Like you said, that run-up distance changes not only from distance to distance, and even within that distance, it changes the actual the timing of when the timing beam starts, but also from track to track.
Exactly.
Just because it's 65 feet for 6 furlongs or whatever it's saying, it doesn't mean it's the same thing at that distance at Del Mar.
Exactly. And when you're looking back at the race, I handicap mostly by paces, when you're looking back at the pace, you need to know whether the time was quick or slow or average for the distance. And since 2020, Santa Anita's run 90 races at 6 furlongs. And like I said, the difference can be astronomical.
Now, talking about those 90 races, using that as an example, Frankie, you also take a look at profiles. Define what profiles mean to you in terms of how you kind of include that in your handicapping.
To me, it's very important. And I'm not talking, Tom, about a day-to-day thing. People will say, the rail's good today after 2 or 3 races. Well, how do you really know? You can flip a coin.
Particularly if they're the favorite.
Right. You can flip a coin and you can get heads 3 times in a row. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? So I take long-term data and I break it down by every distance, and I separate maidens from winners because maidens typically run more speed favoring. There's a lot less closures in those type of races. So each distance you need to know, where do you kind of want to be? Now, that all depends on the way the race today is going to shape up. But if a bias is over the last 6 years, 80% of the winners are coming from first, second, or third at the quarter, you kind of know, unless the race is loaded with speed, you want a horse that's going to be positioned forwardly, or vice versa.
So you take a look at where the winners are at the first quarter-mile pole. Are they positioned first, second, third, fourth, whatever it might be? You track that statistically over a course of time. You come up with a percentage, and then basically you arrive at a conclusion that says 80% of the 6 furlong races, I'm just, again, arbitrarily throwing numbers out here, 80% of the 6 furlong races at Santa Anita are won by one of the horses positioned in the top 3 flight at the first quarter-mile pole.
Exactly, and I think the quarter is more important. A lot of people use the half mile, but the race in sprints is almost over by then. It's 2/3 over. So the quarter is really where you need to know, is your horse going to get out and go or not? For example, I could tell you here in this first race today that 83% of the winners last year at Santa Anita were in first, second, or third at the first quarter.
So you would favor early speed in that type of race, given that profile data?
Exactly. It's kind of, you're not going to want a horse that's going to be 7 or 8 back, because the chances of him making that ground, unless the race is loaded with speed today, is minimal.
Now that's data, and that's all good, and you certainly incorporate that into your handicapping. But also, watching race replays is an important element of what you do in trying to identify winners.
Yeah, it's another thing I think that you can pick up a lot of information from. I'll always look at the horses I want to bet, and usually I look at favorites I'm trying to beat, vulnerable favorites, hoping that they don't look as good as they might have in the last race, and other situations. But I think it is important you can find nuggets, especially in maiden races, horses with limited starts. The racing form, I mean, the chart callers do a pretty darn good job, but they have how many characters to describe
say
what happened?
100 at most.
Just describe what happened in the race. And I think that they miss some things, or they'll overstate some things. And if you can take a look at it, it really helps.
And you've been able to actually sharpen up your race replay skills, because you're now kind of assisting and working with TripNote Pros, which is a paid handicapping service where they watch replays for handicappers who don't have enough time to watch the replays.
Only in the summer at Del Mar, when they are completely overloaded and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for somebody to do it. But yeah, the TripNote Pros is really good. And if you don't have time, who does, to watch every single race, these guys do it for you, and they're really, really good.
Weekend warrior handicappers typically have a real job, so they're not able to immerse themselves in handicapping like you and I can. When you're watching race replays, Frank, what are maybe some things you're looking for that the average race fan might not be looking for?
Well, I think the break, especially in maiden races, is really important, because if a horse loses a length or so, you think, wow, a length, but it really makes a difference, especially since
given
the winners,
profiles.
Right, given the profile. So you take a look at that, and then other times, if it's too obvious, you're not going to get any value off of it anyways, because people will be aware of it. So you kind of got to skirt between it and try and pick out long shots based on that, horses that might run better with a clean break.
What about trainer-jockey combinations? Way back when, before the Daily Racing Form published that information, that was another area you kind of explored as a pioneer and kind of developed a database. Do you think those human relationships matter when it comes to handicapping?
Oh, 100%. And we will date ourselves now, but back in the early 90s, Tom, you look in the racing form and it says, Eddie Gregson's 18%. Okay, and I thought to myself, well, what does that really tell me? Does Eddie do well with claimers? Does he do moving up or down in class? Is he better on turf? How about layoffs?
And then which jockeys does he use?
Exactly, and that type of stuff. So I had a complete database, as you say, of that, and you catch nuggets. This guy's really good in this situation, but not so great in there. And the racing form pretty much incorporated a lot of those things and made it a lot better now, which is great. But that kind of took away my edge. That's why I'm always trying to look for something else, because if you're with the flavor of the month, you're probably going to get cannibalized on your odds. I mean, the buyer speed figures are in the form. Everybody has them. So even if they're a productive handicapping tool, the value that you're getting on the horse is going to be a lot less.
We've always got value when we've got Frank Tate as our seminar guest. He's going to apply these principles to his handicapping process today for today's excellent 9-race card. I do believe it or not, that there will be a pick 6 carryover after the dust settles when race 9 is official. But first things first, before we get Frank's selections, let's find out who's running today and get those early scratches from track announcer Frank Miramati. We'll be right back.
Good morning and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the great race place. The track is fast, turf firm, rail on the turf at 30 feet. Here are the early changes. In the first, number 2, Cultural, should be listed as a gelding. First race starts the early pick 5. In race 2, start of the early pick 4, just some blinker notes. The third race also has blinker notes. In the fourth, scratch number 3, Cowboy Kisses. Scratch number 6, Bertacci. 3 and 6 are out. The fourth starts the $2 pick 6. Race 5, scratch number 9, Broadway Venus. The all-turf pick 3 on races 5, 7, and 9. Kicks off with race number 5. Sixth race, beginning of the late pick 4, scratch 5, Upstart Yankee. Note that number 11 will draw in. 7th starts the $3 late pick 3, scratch 10, Ultimate High. In the 8th, scratch number 1, Moose Mitchell. Late double begins with race 8. It's a $5 bet, 15% takeout. And the only super high 5 is in the 9th, and there are no scratches or jockey changes. Enjoy your day here at Santa Anita Park. We start things at 12 noon in 59 minutes. Back to Quigley's Corner. Tom's special guest today, Frank Tate.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with Frank Tate. He's been handicapping the races probably longer than most of you have been alive, believe it or not. It's our pleasure to have him here today. And Frank, we've been friends for at least 2 to 3 decades. I've actually never asked you this question, so we're going to get the response live on TV.
Oh, no.
How did you begin in racing? Did your parents bring you to the races? Did you stumble in with friends? Like, what was your very first experience at the racetrack? I have no idea.
So for some reason, I was looking through the paper, and I saw the sports section back when they used to have horse racing and stuff in it. And I would go through it and pick horses. And my dad goes, "You can't make any money doing that." Not a gambler at all, my dad. And I would say, "Look, Dad, yesterday I had 4 winners."
How old were you roughly, like 14?
No, like 9 or 10.
Okay.
We were living here in Pasadena at the time. And I convinced him to take me to the track. And it was more like one of those things where your dad lets you have a cigarette or a thing of coffee so you realize how horrible it is. So
Had he ever been to the track himself that you know of?
Not here.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And so we came here to beautiful Santa Anita.
Right.
And unfortunately for him, we crushed him. I think we had like 4 or 5 winners, and I was hooked right then. So his
Did you see the dismay on his face that you were an addict for life?
Yeah,
now?
completely backfired. Completely backfired.
And then how did you kind of, take the next level in terms of being a handicapper? It's one thing to look in the newspaper and pick out names, but then in terms of basically, as I described in the opening, becoming a data-driven handicapper, how did you progress through that process?
Well, living in San Diego after we moved down there, and so my buddy and I would take the bus to Del Mar. And
you were still underage at that point?
Underage,
Yeah.
you'd find somebody who you could sneak in and get the bets down in. And
Statute
from there,
limitations have expired.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'd kind of get more into it, more the form and more video and things
Sure.
like that. And it was a love that you couldn't hide.
And you do learn from other handicappers. I know right now most people play from home through their ADWs, but back in the old days when you were at the track, there would be people you would just bump into, friends of friends, who would tell you an angle, and then you'd kind of pursue it and see if it had any merit.
Oh, exactly. I met one of the greatest handicappers I've ever known, who's been on your show many a time, Steve Pollock, at the Cantina Del Mar, rooting for a horse in Del Mar in 1980 something. So
and it's funny you bring that up, because you talked earlier before the break about how you attract trainers and what categories they were successful in. You as a handicapper have to do the same thing, and I know both you and Steve do that. It's one of the reasons why both you guys prefer playing turf races.
Well, it's just a matter of what you're good at. I track every single bet. Another guest of yours, Jerry Westlow, turned me onto this program where I could put in every single bet, and you find out where you're winning and where you're losing. And then you try and get better at where you're losing. And for me, that doesn't work. So I just pretty much get rid of those and just concentrate where I'm doing well.
Why do you think turf racing is your most successful category? Is it because, well, just tell me why. I don't know why.
I don't know why. I think it's more positioning. There's a lot more jockey intent that goes on those races and skill. Right. And it's all about, especially at Del Mar, it's all about saving ground on the turf. If you've got the 11 hole, if you don't have a jockey who's going to move you over, you're not going to win those races. And so sometimes you got a guy in the 2 hole and he's going to go immediately to the outside. I'm not going to name names, but you kind of know which guys are good and which guy's going to give you a good trip. And you're always trying to bet a horse that's not quite as good, and you're trying to beat those horses that are better, that are going wide. Well,
let's see if we can predict 9 winners on today's card, Frank. Kicking things off in race number 1, where we're sprinting 5.5 furlongs in the main track for maiden claiming 3-year-olds in for a $32,000 tag. Race 1 begins the popular 50-cent early pick 5. We've got a field of 9. The current betting choice, bet down from a 6-1 morning line to 3-2. Current favoritism is number 6, Chasing a Dollar. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Frank, I actually wanted to show a replay that 3 of these runners exit, specifically Chasing a Dollar, as well as Run Up Doobie Run and Can You Hear Me Knocking, all exit the same race back on December 7th at Los Alamitos during the afternoon program. They're going to break next to each other from post positions 5, 6, and 7. The one I want you to pay close attention to is the runner breaking from post position number 5 in this replay, Can You Hear Me Knocking. He gets knocked around the break, is full of run late. Lasix goes on, blinkers come off. Can You Hear Me Knocking right now is the 5-2 second choice. Let's listen to Michael Rohn to describe the action back on December 7th and watch the runners breaking from post positions 5, 6, and 7.
Racing. Warren CJ came out a couple of lengths behind them. Could Be Good caught a flyer from the inside stall and leads on debut from Petrified, and Runner Booty runs down the outside, gathering momentum and challenging for the lead. Bob's Kid is just in behind them. Fourth on the outside of Tiger Strength at the half-mile pole. Then comes Chasing a Dollar. Can You Hear Me Knocking second last, and 10 lengths to Warren CJ. 3/8 to go. Runner Booty Run goes to the front. 2 lengths over Could Be Good. Petrified running third. Bob's Kid is fourth. Followed fifth by Tiger Strength on the inside of Chasing a Dollar. They're clear of Can You Hear Me Knocking. Into the stretch at the quarter pole. Runner Booty Run by 1 length. Could Be Good's looming after him again. 1.5 lengths to Tiger Strength running on strongly. He's about to take a split between those leaders. And wider out, Chasing a Dollar is staking his claim. Bob's Kid is next at the 8th pole, and Tiger Strength took that opening, shot through, and has the lead, but Chasing a Dollar threatens late. Tiger Strength in front of Chasing a Dollar. Can You Hear Me Knocking? Flying. Tiger Strength, Chasing a Dollar. Tiger Strength wins. A half length Chasing a Dollar. Can You Hear Me Knocking?
Frank, sometimes when 3 horses finish together on the wire, it indicates that it's not that strong of a race. I wanted to show that replay because 3 of these 9 runners exit that race. However, your top 2 selections did not run in this race. Tell us why you like number 8, Toppers at Seaside on top.
You know, Tom, I was really torn between 8 and 9. This is a type of race we talked about earlier where you want to be near the front, and I'm not quite sure if Toppers at Seaside is going to fit that profile coming out of that mile race the last couple of times. I'm hoping Rispoli keeps him close within a couple lengths at the first quarter. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he's going to benefit with those 2 routes under his belt. Empire Warrior, my second choice, this horse has had a ton of problems. He hasn't cornered well at all. He's drawn the rail both times in his race. He has a number of changes today. They're taking the blinkers off, and he finally gets an outside post. He will be up on the lead. So I was between those 2, but I'm not quite sure Empire Warrior is going to be better with the cornering, so I'm going to stick with Toppers at Seaside.
Frank, we know you like the 8 and 9 looking at the graphic right now. However, there's a huge odds discrepancy, 3-1 on the 8, 14-1 on the 9. Would that impact your decision from a wagering standpoint?
Yeah, I think if all things being equal, I would bet the 9 at this point because I wasn't far separated between the 2 of them. I'd be willing to take the chance that he can still make those turns. Race
number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. We're going 1 mile on the main track. A number of races early on are 1 mile either on turf or dirt. This race 2, is on the dirt for maiden special weight 3-year-old fillies, a field of 5, number 1. Just As Fancy, who puts blinkers and Lasix on, is the 8-5 morning line favorite. First time going 2 turns. What say you about race 2, Frank?
Yeah, nothing clever here for me, Tom. It's a short field. I went with number 1, Just As Fancy. I thought that he galloped out last time on the replay that made me think he would enjoy going 2 turns. The 3 horse, who's my second choice, Marula, he looked very nice last time, but he had a very clean trip. And so I didn't see any real reason that he would move up other than maybe being a second-time starter. But it just looks like those 2 to me in here, and nothing 1-3, I think.
Frank, before we take a look at race number 3, another general question for you. Having hung out in the Del Mar paddock for many years with you, I do believe that your wager choice of preference is the daily double. If that is in fact true, why do you like playing daily doubles?
Well, win is basically my play. I'll always bet my horse to win. Double is a way to kind of get live to something. So
can I stop you 1 second? Is there an odds cutoff when you'll bet a horse to win? In other words, if he's 5-1 on the morning line and he's going off at 8-5, will you still play him to win?
Not at all. I usually don't bet anything under 4-1. 5-1 is kind of what I prefer. It's very hard with these late odd changes that we've been seeing over the last few years to kind of guarantee that. So you kind of have to wait and just take your chances. But the win bet, I think, it's got a very low takeout pool, and if my horse wins, I'm getting paid. I don't want to have to be to where, the
5th place finisher to finish the super high 5.
Right, or losing a pick 3 because my horse won. If he wins, I'm getting paid, and I'll bet the double. I love the double too, and the double I'll use as a chance to get live to him. If I've got a 20-1 shot I can bet less. If I've got an opinion in the prior race, I can bet less on betting 2 or 3 horses in that race to this horse to win more.
And you can see the probable payouts on the doubles as well. You can't in the pick 3s and pick 4, so you get an idea of how you can scale your bet.
Exactly, and for me personally, there's very few times 3 races or 4 races string together that I like.
Race number 3, we're back on the turf course, this time 6 furlong sprinting. It's for maiden special weight Calbred. Fillies and mares, we've got a field of 7. All of them are 4-year-olds. Number 3, Thirst for Passion from the George Papa Padroma barn, is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Frank, we wanted to watch a replay, and it would be for the filly on the bottom, number 7, Have Patience. It's actually going to be her debut way back on March 9th. We're going to do a couple things differently here. She's going to break from post position number 2. She's a gray filly, and she's wearing the Redham silk. So let's watch the head-on a couple of times, and watch the start of the race for number 2, Have Patience, breaking out of the gate. That's the gray right there, Frankie. You can see she gets bumped and crowded. And as you mentioned, for a first-time starter maiden, that sometimes, although it didn't look all that serious, can actually be somewhat significant.
Yeah, at 5 furlongs, you're done when that happens on the turf.
And she actually ran pretty well. Now, today, she's going to be ridden by Frankie Dettori. She's a juicy 8-1 on the morning line. She's also adding blinkers. Again, before we get your thoughts on the race, Frank, now let's watch the pan replay of Have Patience. Again, she'll break from post position number 2 in her debut. Not only does she get bumped out of the starting gate, breaking in that race, but you're going to see she has all sorts of trouble, and her gallop out is very good. So let's listen to Frank Miramaya describe the action for Have Patience's debut back on March 9th.
And they're off. Very quick start for Lady P, who's vying for the lead, and Vision matching strides in the opening furlong, and Castagna just outside of that pair. Annie Fox broke well and sits on the inside with Breezy Blue between rivals, only 3 lengths off the lead. Then it's Have Patience inside Jane Kende. Pipa Felipa on the outside of Headed for Ohm. Those 2 6 off the lead. The 2 trailers are Marilyn Monroe and Club Teaser at the back of the field. Lady P, Castagna on the outside, moves to challenge, and down at the rail, Envision, 3 of them right across the course. Breezy Blue, Jane Kende looming up on the outside, then Annie Fox, Have Patience to Gray behind horses. They're at the top of the stretch, and Headed for Ohm is kicking in with a good stretch kick on the far outside. Here comes Headed for Ohm with good looking strides too, blowing by them late. Breezy Blue comes through on the inside, but it's Headed for Ohm. Flavian Pratt with another. Jane Kende second. Photo for third. It was close between.
Frank, as we continue to watch the gallop out here, there's our friend number 2, Have Patience in the gallop out, the gray and the red and racing silks. And look, lo and behold, despite being bumped around the break, not really having a whole lot of room to run coming down the lane, she gallops out with the winner. Very impressive performance. Last time out, they took the blinkers off. She didn't run well, and obviously something happened. We haven't seen her since April, but you actually like her today based off of all those things we watched, Frankie, the head-on shot of the break, as well as the race replay in her debut.
I do. This would be my best bet on the card today, Tom. I think that there's a number of factors here, as you mentioned. We saw that race. She also took up on the turn and lost some momentum, and then was blocked the entire stretch and never had a chance to run. The subsequent race, she also had a bad start, had more trouble in that. She got cut off very late, but she really wasn't doing anything in that. So I think that something went amiss, as you say. And this, there's a lot of things to like. First of all, as you mentioned, these races were in March and April of last year. So what you've got is the great Gordon Jones grow-up play. People are looking at buyer speed figures. These other horses have been running recently. This horse has matured.
I laugh, but there's a lot of truth to that angle. Describe it just briefly. You were just starting to describe it, but describe it a little bit more. Both mentally and physically, they mature.
100%. So people are looking at this horse hasn't run. I like it 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Especially if they've been off a while. People are comparing buyers, and they're looking at them and saying, well, this horse ran this, but that was 8 months ago compared to a horse who's running later. So the horse is physically stronger, like say, mentally stronger. It's got a couple races under the belt. You mentioned the blinkers going on today.
What about
huge
the
jockey switch?
Yeah, I was going to say, Frankie Dettori wins a few turf races.
Right, and you get Doug O'Neill. And the other thing is there's not all that much in here. When I'm looking at the other horses, there's nothing that really scares me that much. Practical Dazzle, looks to be the favorite. This horse ran well last time, but we were talking about times. So at the distance, she was over a second slower at the half mile than the average for the pace and still got caught. So she got a super easy lead, still got nailed by my second choice, which is Thirst for Passion. So I'm really not that sold on anyone in here. And if this horse shows up and fires, I think she could easily blow up the tote here in a short field at 8-1.
Frank's best bet on today's card number 7, Have Patience in race number 3. Let's begin the $2 pick 6 sequence. In race number 4, we're sprinting 5.5 furlongs in the main track. It's a starter optional claiming race. 2 scratches. Scratch the 3 and 6 leaves us with a field of 8. Take note, all 8's previous starts were at Pleasanton. These races, both races 4 and 6, are designed for runners coming down from Northern California. The morning line favorite, number 7, Halo Rando from the Dean Pedersen barn. 3-1 on the morning line with Flavian in the saddle. Give us your thoughts on race 4, Frank.
I think it's really neat that they did this restricted condition, Tom, and gets these horses to face each other without being kind of thrown to the wolves, so to speak. So another sprint race here where speed has been prevalent. Last year at Santa Anita, there were 15 races run for winners. at 5.5 furlongs. 12 of them were won by horses first, second, or third early. So again, it's kind of a smaller sample, but you really want to be towards the front. And who better than Flavien Prat to put his horse in the right position? I like number 7, Halo Rando. This horse has, got a good mark at the distance. The other thing to look at, I think, Tom, when you see these horses coming from Northern Cal in this 4th and 6th races, how do they do on the dirt? Because a lot of these are used to synthetics, and this horse is won on the dirt. It should be in the perfect spot. I think Pratt's going to have him in the right spot, up to a close pace, ready to pounce.
You also gave a little love on the graphics to number 2, Warren's World, first off the claim for trainer Blaine Wright. What'd you like about him?
So again, going back, this horse has 5 wins out of 23 starts, but 4 of them were on the dirt. So definitely shouldn't have a problem down here. Looks to have quite a bit of speed, and you get Hernandez to use that from the 2-hole.
Race number 5 begins both the 50-cent late pick 5 as well as the $3 all-turf pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout. It's an allowance optional claiming race for Calbred 3-year-old fillies, non-winners of one other than, traveling 6 furlongs on the turf course. Scratch the also eligible number 9, Broadway Venus, leaves us with a field of 8. On the rail, Neil's Legacy is the 8-5 morning line favorite. Last time out, tried dirt, now back onto turf. Also first-time Lasix for a number of these runners now that they've turned 3 years old. Bit of a grab bag here. It's one of many reasons why I think the pick 6 is going to carry over today, Frank. Talk to us about race 5.
Well, maybe I should side with you here. I came up with all chalk here. I thought that Nell's Legacy, the impressive debut was just really good. Last time on the dirt wasn't that great. I mean, the horse that won hand-ridden, easily away from this horse, but maybe that was a dirt thing, and also coming off the layoff. Back on grass today, this horse looks pretty solid to me. The other horse that I like to near is the second favorite, number 6, Harrah's Hope, who absolutely dominated a field up at Pleasant. I mean, it was easy as you please. The jock pulled out the whip to show it to him, then put it right away. So if this horse takes to the turf, I think that those are the 2 in here.
Race number 6 begins the 50-cent late pick 4. This is the mild version of race number 4. Exact same conditions. Starter optional claiming race. 1 scratch. Scratch the 5, Upstart Yankee. Leaves us with a field of 10, including the also eligible, who draws in number 11, Mother's Prayer. All 10 previous starts were at Pleasanton. Morning line favorite number 3, Tesoro, taking a huge drop down in class. 5-2 according to Jeff Siegel. What's race 6 according to Frank Tate?
Well, my top selection was the scratch, number 5, Upstart Yankee, but I'm going to go with the second choice here. It's Thievery. I like the way that this horse has shown speed in the past. And then the last couple of races with this jockey, he's rated a little bit. So I think this horse is very adaptable to any pace situation. Not that great at this distance, being 1 for 14, but does like the dirt. And it's more of a go against the favorites. Nold, the rail horse, who's 7-2 second favorite in here. This horse does not fit the profile. He's going to be way back now. Again, it's Pratt. Maybe he can do something about that. But I think at 7-2, a horse who's going to be a long ways back that's not advantageous over this racetrack is not where you want to be. And Tesoro, this horse is obviously the class of the field. And what I'm using against him today is the 3 works. He's coming in. I only see 3 works on paper here. Let's just see if he's not 100%. And if he's not, then I think the 7 is the horse to play.
Race number 7 begins the $3 regular late pick 3 with, again, a reduced 15% takeout. We're going 1 mile on the turf course for Calbred fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of one other than. In this race, do scratch the also eligible. Number 10, Ultimate High, will not compete. Still leaves us with a good field of 9. Number 8, Miss Club Call, is the 5-2 morning line favorite. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Frank, I wanted to watch a replay. This replay was back on November 3rd at Del Mar. It was Sunday of Breeders' Cup weekend. The reason why I want to show this replay is because 5 of the 9 runners in today's 7th race exit this particular race. There's 3 of them that I want you to watch. They're going to be easy to find. Lady Montclair is going to be setting the pace. She's going to be wearing saddlecloth number 9. Also, likewise, number 1, Sancy Praslot, is going to be wearing saddlecloth number 8. So they're going to be setting the pace 1-2 all around the racetrack. And then lastly, She's Misbehaving is going to be wearing saddlecloth number 6. She's going to be easy to find. She's going to be at the back of the pack and make a late rally. So a lot of action going on here, but watch the runners breaking from post positions 6, 8, and 9. That'll give you a good summary of the race. Let's listen to Larry Comas describe the action back on Del Mar on November 3rd.
They're off. Good even beginning. Sassy Prancelot goes out to the early lead. Inside Satellite Heart with some speed as well, and Lady Montclair joins them on the far outside. And He's Hope is away running in 4th, in behind the leaders, racing 4 lengths from the front. Moving into that turn, then Ashley Sandcastle to the inside. Smart Monique is out there 3 wide, and then comes Quantum Energy. Break of 2 back to Glacier Rim, and She's Misbehaving. Onto the backstretch they go, and it is Lady Montclair, the leader. 23.23 was the first quarter mile. The lead is a length and a half to Sassy Prancelot in second. Satellite Heart tucked in third, 2.5 off the lead. Henny's Hope is fourth on the outside. After that comes Smart Monique alongside of Ashley Sandcastle as they continue up the backstretch. Quantum Energy, She's Misbehaving next, and Glacier Rim is last of them all. 48.13 was the half mile for Lady Montclair and Antonio Fresu, who head for the far turn in front to half a length. Sassy Prancelot on the outside second. Annie's Hopes alongside of Satellite Heart, who continues to ride the rail under Frankie Dettori, waiting for some running room here, just 2 lengths off the lead. Then Ashley Sandcastle. They're coming to the top of the stretch. Lady Montclair off the turn. Sassy Prancelot. Satellite Heart now comes up to their outside, and here she comes with a furlong to run. And Satellite Heart and Frankie Dettori have taken the lead, and they take off for the wire. It's Satellite Heart to win it. Second is going to be a photo. It's either Sassy.
Frank, we saw Lady Montclair set the pace, but then fade badly. Likewise, Sassy Prancelot was in that photo for second. Got nipped right on the wire by number 6, She's Misbehaving, who's going to be wearing saddlecloth number 5 today. Before we get your actual selections, I just want to use your data and put it into practice here. We talked about rail positions. We talked about profiles. In race 7, we're going 1 mile on the turf course. First, let's talk about, with the rails at 30 feet, what's going on as far as the run-up is concerned.
It's any manner of distances. And when it's, so we don't know what the run-up is going to be today.
Until afterwards.
Right. So you kind of have to, we don't know what it's going to be. But as far as the positions of the winner, there's been 156 races, Tom, since 2020.
1 mile turf at Santa Anita.
1 mile turf with the rails at 30.
Okay.
And of those, 59 of them have been won by horses sitting second or third at the first call.
So good, but not dominating.
Not dominating, like 38%. Basically, it's fairly fair. You want to be, you don't want to be, I can tell you, you don't want to be more than 6 back. There you're looking at 12% winners. So you want to be in the bulk of the field.
88% are closer than 6 lengths back.
That's right.
Okay.
So in this type of race, it's kind of wide open. You don't really get a big feel for a specific place that you want to be here.
So using that data and looking at replays and looking at past performances and everything else we do, who do you like best in race 7 and why?
I'm going to go with the horse, one of the horses we just saw there, Sassy Prancelot. I think that this horse can rate today from the rail hole because you've got Proof of Jazz in here, number 4, who's very fast. You saw Lady Montclair go last time, probably should have to go again. Even with the blinkers off, this horse has been up on the lead in the past and from that outside post. But maybe Pratt will take back a little bit. But I think Sassy Prancelot will sit the trip on the rail the whole way. Last time Frey moved out and ended up going wide on the turn. That probably cost him second place there. I think if he plugs in with this horse, she should get a really good trip and be able to pounce and get first run on the leaders here. And
if Sassy Prancelot were to get beat, who is her biggest danger in your opinion?
Oh boy, you put me on a spot here. There's not a lot in here.
That's why it's a tough race, right?
Well, Ultimate High was my top selection, but that horse Scratch. Those were the only 2 I really came up with in here, Tom.
But I understand for pick 6 purposes, if Sassy Prancelot is a single for other players, obviously they're in trouble because the competition runs deep. It's hard to separate the others. And as we well know, horses don't fire their best shot every day. That's the frustrating part of handicapping.
It would be a wide open race. Yeah.
Race number 8 begins the $5 late daily double, also with a reduced 15% takeout. And race 8, we're going 6.5 furlongs the main track for allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 2 other than Scratch the Rail. Moose Mitchell still leaves us with a field of 6. Number 2, Agency is a first-time gelding. John Sadler trains 2 in here. However, the favorite is on the bottom, trained by Bob Hess. Roll on Big Joe is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Another tough race. Who do you like and why, Frank?
Yeah, Roll on Big Joe's got a lot of things going for him. He's got the perfect post for this. He's got a great rider. I just don't know if he's really as good as the rest of these. So I'm going to try and beat him with number 2, Agency, who unfortunately is going to get the rail now with the scratch of Moose Mitchell. Blinkers come off today. Mark Glatt's insanely good off the layoff. This horse has come off a layoff 3 times that we can see on his past performances with a first, a second, and a 5th only beaten a neck. So I think Agency's going to fire his best shot today. He's been gelded since his last race. He's won over this track. His hand might be forced here, Tom.
There is a lot of speed in here.
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to rate a little bit because he's been able to rate and win in the past, but now he may just be forced to go here. And the other horse that I would worry about is Slider, the 6. This horse is going to get a very good trip in here. and looks like everything sets up for him. The only question about him is all those races really were against 3-year-olds until last time out. So let's see how the horse shapes up against older competition today.
2 and 6 in race number 8. We close things out in race number 9, which offers $1 super high five wagering. We're going 1 mile on the turf course. For maiden claiming 3-year-olds in for a $50,000 tag. Take note, number 4, Earn Not Given, is not only the 3-to-1 morning line favorite, but is also a first-time gelding. 9 ways you can go here, Frankie. Which way you going and why?
I'm going to end with the price, Tom. I don't think anybody in here is all that fantastic. Earn Not Given looks like the legitimate favorite, but 380,000 in for 50.
They're already telling you what they think,
on
right?
the second start, right? I mean, how good is this horse really? I'm not really a huge fan of Victor on the turf either, so I don't think he's going to get the perfect trip in here. Max and Lou is the second favorite in the morning line. What's really to like other than the drop? So I'm going to go with number 7, Looking for Curly.
10-to-1 on the morning line.
10-to-1 on the morning line for a trainer who's not super high percentage by any standards, not known for turf either, but I like Franco as a turf jockey. He always has his horse in the right spot, and I watched both of these horses replays, Tom, and I think the horse tries really hard. Bad breaks both times, and every time he's been in it at the end, and he's gotten slow paces to run it. I think that this horse could light up the tote today.
You also like number 5, Mutt Dillon, who's first off the claim for trainer Paula Capestra. She brings in the son of Divining Rod from Laurel after claiming him. What'd you like about him at 5-to-1?
Just looks sneaky to me. A Maryland bred here. I'm thinking, okay, that's not great. 3 works. That's not up my alley either. But Valdivia gets off Max and Lou, presumably, to ride this horse. This horse does have speed. I saw some of the races at Laurel, and this horse just might be able to go on. It's a very suspicious play for me.
Frankie, it's great having you on track here at the Great Race Place. I wish we could do it way more often. Don't be such a hermit. Come visit us every once in a while. Thanks so much for your time and insight today. Really enjoyed the insight that you provided our viewers.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Always a pleasure to hang with you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep in mind, live racing resumes tomorrow a little bit early. 11:30 a.m. Pacific time is first post. That's because we're running 10 races tomorrow. Same thing on Sunday. Sunday's card is outstanding. 10 races with 92 runners entered. Should be a fun weekend of racing here at the Great Race Place. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy yourself, and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem.